Have you ever dated someone who seemed absolutely crazy about you in the beginning? They text you constantly, they can't wait to see you, they think about the future, and then the moment the relationship becomes real, they start disappearing emotionally, like a magician in a cheap Vegas lounge act? Well, today we are talking about emotionally unavailable men and why they pull away when things start to get serious, and why so many smart people keep falling for the same patterns over and over again.
Hi, Dr. Karen. I'm calling because I think I've been dating a man with a severe allergy to commitment. About 8 months ago, I met a guy named Marcus, and honestly, in the beginning, he was incredible. If enthusiasm were an Olympic sport, this man would have brought home the gold medal. He texted me every morning, he texted me every night, he planned dates. He bought little gifts. He remembered things I told him months earlier. He sent me songs that reminded him of me. He called me beautiful for no reason. The effort level was unbelievable. If I mentioned liking a particular restaurant, somehow we ended up there the following week. If I had a bad day at work, flowers appeared. He remembered my mother's birthday. He remembered my favorite coffee order. I actually started telling my friends, I think I finally found a grown-up. My friends loved him. My family loved him. For about 4 months, everything felt easy. There was no confusion, no mixed signals, no wondering where I stood. Marcus acted like a man who knew exactly what he wanted. Then we had what I thought was a wonderful conversation about becoming exclusive. Huge mistake. Not because the conversation went badly, the conversation went great. Marcus smiled. Marcus agreed. Marcus said he wanted the same thing. Marcus said he wasn't interested in dating anyone else. I remember driving home that night thinking, finally, we're on the same page. Then, approximately 48 hours later, he transformed into a completely different person. The good morning texts disappeared. The phone calls disappeared. The plans disappeared. At one point, I was getting more communication from my dentist than I was from my boyfriend. Suddenly, Marcus was busy all the time. Work, stress, family issues, personal growth, a mysterious level of exhaustion usually associated with people returning from combat. Every time I asked if something was wrong, he'd tell me everything was fine. Apparently, fine now means hearing from your boyfriend every 72 hours. The strange thing is that he never officially left. He never broke up with me. He never said he wasn't interested. He just slowly reduced his effort until I felt like I was carrying the entire relationship by myself. I'd send a thoughtful message and get back LOL. I'd ask if he wanted to make plans, and he'd tell me he wasn't sure what his schedule looked like. Meanwhile, his social media appeared fully operational. One weekend, he'd cancel because he was overwhelmed with work. The next weekend, I'd see photos of him at a concert with friends. At some point, every conversation started feeling like I was applying for a government grant instead of talking to my boyfriend. The weirdest part was the cycle. Every time I finally got frustrated and started pulling away, Marcus would suddenly reappear. Flowers, dates, long conversations, affection. The original Marcus would return. For a few days, then he'd disappear all over again. One time I stopped texting completely. I stopped calling. I told myself I deserved better. 3 days later, he showed up with concert tickets, flowers, and a speech about how much I meant to him. I lasted about 24 hours before I believed every word. 2 weeks later, we were right back where we started. This cycle has happened so many times that I feel like I'm trapped in a relationship with a seasonal employee. Marcus keeps showing up just long enough to stop me from quitting before disappearing again. The worst part is that I know he's capable of being loving because I've seen it. That's what keeps me stuck. I keep waiting for that version of him to come back. But lately, I've started wondering something darker. What if the attentive Marcus wasn't the real Marcus? What if that was just the sales presentation? What if the distant version is who he actually is? Because honestly, Dr. Karen, I'm exhausted. I spend more time analyzing his behavior than enjoying the relationship. I spend more time trying to understand him than being loved by him. And that's not what I thought a relationship was supposed to feel like. So tell me honestly, did Marcus genuinely want a relationship and then panic when things became real? Or was the chase always the point? And more importantly, how do you know when it's finally time to stop waiting for someone who only seems interested in you when he's afraid you're about to leave?
Hi, okay, thank you so much for calling in with this question. Wow, what a lot to unpack. Where do we begin here? First and foremost, I guess I'd like to start with pursuit versus commitment. You know, a lot of people, a lot of men in particular, which what we were discussing, a lot of men, they enjoy the chase. And that might be the circumstance here, which you've seemed to sadly figure out on your own, is that this man, Marcus, he really seems to be into the chase, and not the reward, which that's the most major red flag possible. So it's good that you are seeing that and that that's been established. There could be a lot of reasons why this is happening. He could have an avoidant attachment issue, which is something that stems from his childhood where he didn't get the attention and love that he needed as a child, and somehow that's manifested into his adult life. Regardless, the reasoning doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if that's the root cause of the problem or if that's not the issue at all, or he's simply a sociopath. We're never going to know the answer, and the sad truth of the matter is that sometimes we need to accept not knowing, and that needs to be enough. Sometimes there's no closure. Sometimes there's no explanation. And that seems to be this case with Marcus. There are a lot of people that fall in love with potential. And I don't mean that disrespectfully against you. I just mean sometimes that some people enjoy that. And then when you break away and they realize that there's a sense of loss, they come back and they become a little clingy again. They give you the love that you were wishing you had previously. This is all just a big, 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 big cycle. And you are the only one that's going to break this because he obviously doesn't have the maturity to do so. Or at least admit his personal issues with you about his lack of commitment and things of that nature. I'd say the good thing that you've realized, and something that I'm going to continue to harp on here, is that the difference is going to be between attention and investment. This man is not willing to put the time in to make this a proper investment. He's not investing his time and energy into the situation. He's just seeing this as a quick attention thing. And that's not going to get him anywhere, and you deserve a lot better, quite frankly. I can't say that I've been on both sides of the situation. I've been the user and the usee. Sadly, I think we probably all have at some point in our lives. You are definitely being used. And, sometimes out of these circumstances, you got to just pack up your things and move on and just remember that the best thing you got out of that time was a really rough life lesson for yourself, or maybe a designer handbag and a nice dinner. Because I'll tell you, when it was me, that's what I got. You're going to be okay. It's good that you're identifying these problems now and that you can see that this person has these issues, and you deserve a lot better than Marcus. Thanks for calling. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode. If you have a question, if you have a problem or a disaster disguised as a relationship, please send it my way. You can email me, send a video, leave a voice message. However you reach out, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Until next time, friends, comfort is overrated, truth is not. I am Dr. Karen. See you next time.